How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Family. We are back with another FPL preseason video, and today we're going to be continuing our Team Watch series, and up next is Leicester City. We're going to be taking a look at what FPL assets I'm interested in, which ones I'm not too keen on, or something may need to change in order for them to become valid FPL options, and lastly, we're going to take a look at what transfer activity Leicester have been doing over this summer's transfer window. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. It greatly helps out the channel, so make sure to do that for us, as well as give us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with all FPL and transfer news. Been retweeting a lot of that stuff over on Twitter. We also have our FPL Flames Recruit League in the bio, so make sure to check that out as well and join the league. And lastly, make sure to check out our Twitch by dropping a follow over there. That's what we'll be doing our FPL deadline and preview streams throughout the season. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the Season Ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. Now with Leicester, they have a pretty good run of first 3 games. I mean, West Ham away probably isn't really an FDR rating of 4. I would say probably ignore those and probably just go off how Leicester like to play. They're very attacking. West Ham, did have some defensive issues, although their defense was quite good when they had like Masuaku playing at left wing back and had injuries and that sort of stuff. But Leicester can hurt any team on their day. 5 goals against City, I remember, in the opening 4 game weeks in that 5-2 drumming that they had earlier on in the season. Obviously, just missing out on Champions League football, so maybe, just maybe, the Europa League fixtures that they have to do off the start of the season may make them a little bit tired, or may give us a little bit more inkling as to what we can expect. So typically Brendan Rodgers, when his team was fully fit, often went with a 4-2-3-1. Now with Maddison being injured on and off throughout last season, was plagued with that. Harvey Barnes had a pretty bad injury which kept him out for the latter half of the season or thereabouts. And those are the 2 players that I'm actually interested in, to be honest, because I think they're the 2 players that make Leicester kind of tick. Tielemans is kind of the workhorse in midfield, Maddison the creator, Barnes is just a sheer raw pace and aggression towards the penalty area. If we look at Leicester's stats, 292 shots inside the box, so you can see a whole 60 less than the likes of Leeds. So they're a bit more on the counter-attack, whereas Leeds are kind of a bit more gung-ho. But Barnes' last 4 matches that he played, 2 big chances, 6 chances created, 6 shots inside the box, 1.51 XGI. Those are fantastic stats for a 7 million midfielder. Maddison's, though, flattered to deceive. So the season before last, he was fantastic. 7 million always seems to be that kind of price point for Maddison where you're like, just enough to be enticed. If Maddison's back in full flow, we can expect him to be doing what he was doing a couple of seasons ago, where he was taking shots from outside the box and scoring them. He was also getting involved in the play, creating chances, putting the ball in behind for Jamie Vardy. It's just the injury, that hip injury that he's had, seems to have knocked him back a peg and ultimately left him out of the England squad, which you would have thought he would have been a shoo-in for to start the season and seasons gone by. And then lastly, Iheanacho. I'm very interested in him at 7.5 million. I think he's fantastic. 1.71 XGI last season for the last 4 matches that he played last season, rather. 7 chances created, so he's created more chances than even Barnes did in the last 4 matches that they both respectively played. 6 shots inside the box, which is, over a shot a game, which is quite, perfectly fine. 2 big chances, so 1 every other game, which is, okay, not great, but is still fine. And he's kind of sharing the workload with Jamie Vardy, and Iheanacho was a clinical finisher anyway. He was getting into even half chances, not even big chances, and just putting them in the back of the net. So Iheanacho 7.5 million, if he's starting at the beginning of the season, could be quite good. They have They have, however, gone in and got a new forward by the name of Dako, who's come from RB Salzburg. We'll be talking about him in the transfer segment, but that could potentially displace him, which is why I'm a little bit worried. I'd be very intrigued of his price, Iheanacho, but is it maybe a long-term Jamie Vardy replacement? We don't know. I haven't seen any of Daka's play at all, but I know that he is highly recommended from Salzburg and came in at 30 million euros as well. So he could be potentially displacing one of those two strikers long term, but we'll have to see. But these are the three players I'm definitely interested in going into the season if they're starting game in, game out, because we know Barnes, how good he can be. Same with Madison, who will be on set pieces, and Iheanacho's clinical finishing has been something that basically kept Leicester pretty much in it up until the last game of the season, where they ultimately fell just slightly short of the mark. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some of the Leicester players that may just be a bit too expensive or may not be right for FPL this coming season. Now, some of the players that you see up on the screen here, James Justin, Timothy Castagne, and Jamie Vardy, all fantastic players in their own right, but I think they all have a little bit of faults in them in terms of what we can expect from them from an FPL point of view going into next season. So James Justin, very young talent, came in, did extremely well, was getting big chances, was creating chances, was getting shots off inside the box, was scoring goals from a... It didn't matter where he played. He could play right wing back, right back, left back. He even played in a back three at one point as a center back and was still getting involved in the play. It's just a matter of what is this long-term injury that he had where he basically messed up his knee and is out for a significant period of time. I don't think he's going to be back ready and raring to go at the beginning of the season. And what will that injury do to his, overall play? Is he going to come back and be as good as he was before? Maybe even better. He could be worse. That's what we have to kind of wait and see on him. He's currently still flagged in FPL with an unknown return date. So I would still wait on him, although he is someone I would be interested in had he not had that injury and was fresh going into this season. Castagne, someone who also plays at fullback at 5.5 million. I think he's one of tied for the most expensive Leicester defenders. But in terms of his productivity numbers, you can see there, no big chances, no chances created, no shots inside the box, and a 0.07 XGI over the last 4 matches. Now, this may be due to the fact that he often had to play in a back three as one of the center backs, but that didn't stop James Justin. So maybe Castagne is going to be exclusively used as a wing back when everyone is fit and available. But they do have a lot of fullbacks now. I mean, James Justin can play either side. Castagne can play either side. Ryan Bertrand is coming, who we'll talk about in the next transfer segment. He's another fullback. You still have Ricardo Pereira there. So they do have a lot of depth at fullback that potentially could see some rotation there, which is not what you like. It's getting a little bit of Man City vibes here, where you don't know which fullback is going to start game in, game out. And then Jamie Vardy, he was 10 million last season, comes in at 10.5 million. He's still Jamie Vardy. He's still going to do exactly what you want him to do. He's going to score penalties when he gets them. He's going to have shots inside the box. He's going to be making runs in behind. He's still Jamie Vardy. He's going to be a good player. I just think 10.5 million might be a bit too much for my liking. I'm kind of confused as to why he went up in price, considering I think he had a worse season in terms of goal scoring this season than he did last season, and quite a few of his goals did come from penalties. And also one thing to note is that Leicester's his non-penalty XG for the season 46.68 is, I think, 5 XG lower or thereabouts when I was checking the stats across the whole season versus their just regular XG, which means that they were expected to score around 5 extra goals via penalties, which makes sense considering Leicester had a lot of goals from the penalty spot last season. I remember Vardy had 2 in one game when he scored a hat-trick as well. I just think he just could be a bit too expensive. You're going to pay that amount, you're going to be looking at Kane prices at that point as well. And he's kind of in a bracket of his own. The only real player in and around that is Aubameyang from Arsenal, who's had a position change from midfield to forward and is 10 million. But there's so much value in the forward line. I think Vardy might just miss out, unfortunately. And Iheanacho, if he's playing and starting game in, game out in that partnership, you'll just go there because he's 3 million cheaper and was much more clinical. So we definitely like that in terms of an FPL point of view. Just the penalties would be the only other thing. Unless they're going to get 1 billion penalties, and Jamie Vardy might be worth it. But I think just a bit too expensive for me at the start of the season, but it'll be a wait and see. We know Vardy's quality. We know he could be up there with the Golden Boot winners as well, and could do quite well for Leicester. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the transfer activity, and there's a lot of it for Leicester for this summer's transfer window. Now, Leicester have been very, very active in the transfer market already. Already bringing in Boubakary Soumaré from Lille, who is kind of that like shielding, defensive-minded midfielder. He's already in the game at 5 million, so not really an FPL option, but could provide cover for Ndidi, who may see a bigger move maybe next season or the season after, potentially. He's a very young, talented player, played very well in the French league, and has come in for £17.1 million, or that approximation of 20 million euros. And as a reminder, all transfers fees that you see on this graphic are approximations of the fee and not necessarily the exact price. They're just approximations that we've got off Transfer Markt. So Soumaré, not really an FPL asset, but could see Ndidi be a lot fresher as the season goes on, as well as they still have Europa League still to play. Daka as well is somebody who's come in for a very high price tag. 25.7 million for Leicester is nothing to scoff at, and it is going to be something that provides competition up front. He is a center forward. He's the same price as the likes of Kelechi Iheanacho, and is highly regarded as a very good forward. So we're going to see how he kind of fits in with Leicester. Maybe he rotates with Jamie Vardy when they have like midweek games and that sort of stuff, and maybe keep him fresh for when they need him the most. Because as a note, Vardy, he did start late when he came into the Premier League. I think he's 34 now, 33, 34. I think he's actually older than Edinson Cavani, which is crazy to think about, by like a month or two. So we'll have to keep an eye on how Daka comes in and rotates with the team. Maybe he's going to be more of a bench option. We'll have to see. Although with that price tag, I wouldn't probably believe that. And then Ryan Bertrand, who was at Southampton, has left on a free. He's 5 million and has come in for Leicester as well as cover at fullback. So could be quite good for them. Although with the amount of fullbacks that they have, I mean, they have Castagne, they have James Justin when he comes back, they have Ricardo Pereira, now they have Bertrand as well. They have a lot of fullbacks on both sides. That could be a bit of a mess there. So maybe Leicester, the secure thing is to go with one of their center backs. Maybe the likes of Wesley Fofana, who was actually on the thumbnail, who we didn't talk about in the two teams. I just think it's just a wait and see there, because their defense could be anything. If it's a back three, I would say, yeah, Fofana's probably going to go in there, but what happens when James Justin comes back from injury? I think 4.5 million for Fofana is a very good price, and he's playing week in, week out. We can definitely see him be a threat off set pieces as well, but could be a bit interesting on the way that Leicester want to play when they have everyone fit. So I think it's a wait and see, which is why I'm potentially going with a rotation of my third defender option of Ayling and Lamptey from Brighton and Leeds. In terms of the outs, so the fantastic deals in outs, Christian Fuchs, his contract has run out as well. Obviously, a long-time member, was there when they won the Premier League as well as Wes Morgan, who has retired. He was also one who lifted that Premier League trophy, and they won the FA Cup on his final season for Leicester, so it was good on him as well. Although he wasn't playing very much throughout the season, as they had the likes of Soyuncu and that sort playing in those positions. We also have the likes of Cengiz Under, who's gone back over to Serie A. He came across on a loan deal. He started off like a house on fire, came on, scored, done well for Leicester, but then ultimately just didn't really play too much, whether it was through injury or just, lack of, pace or whatever it may be. The speed of the Premier League was too much for him. Just Brendan Rodgers just kind of used him mainly as a bench option, which is kind of weird. So that was a bit of an interesting one. Will they bring him back on loan again this season? I'm not too sure. I just think they have, with the likes of Barnes, Maddison, Iozi Perez, Albrighton, Dennis Pratt. They have a bunch of different players that can come in and fulfill those roles when everyone's fit and available. I think it was just mainly due to we need to cover the likes of Maddison and Barnes because they're both out at the time, and they need something with a bit more of the Barnes kind of ilk in there when they were short on that. So that's going to do it for the Leicester transfers. Let me know what you think and how they've done in the window. I think Leicester have had the best transfer window by far from the teams that we've done, but let me know in the comments down below what you think on that front, and which teams could be potentially doing better transfers than Leicester. And that's going to do it for our Leicester City Team Watch edition for this one. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get more videos like this one as soon as they are readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter and join our Flames Recruits League if you want to be involved in that, and give us a follow over on Twitch so that you can be ready and raring to go when we go live for our preview and deadline streams for the season. And lastly, it's a fantastic offer. Check the link down in the description below for Fantasy Football Scout membership. You have to use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It's got a whole bunch of different stuff in there in the members area. I use it all the time. You can see the graphics up on the screen. Use the Fantasy Football Scout membership data powered by Opta stats. So make sure to use that link down in the description below. It's going to help elevate your Fantasy Premier League game. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.